Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis.
And this is Rivkah. Sorry, I always do that.
How are you all folks doing tonight? We are trying something different again this week. So, of course,
Always experimenting.
yes, always experimenting. So we'll see how well this goes. Of course, we've been allowed back onto YouTube. Most of you all know that and are possibly watching from YouTube right now. And we're trying something different where we're broadcasting live on both YouTube and Rumble at the same time. So we'll see if that works. Not sure how this will turn out. If there's problems, certainly let us know. But we're gonna see if we can do this where we can just broadcast both. Hello, all in the chat.
Lots of hellos
Lots
and
of hellos and
shaloms.
shaloms. Yes.
And a 5x5.
And a 5x5. Awesome. So just to give you a heads up on uh what we're doing or what we're seeing. So we see the comments, but we're not quite sure. I guess these are all YouTube comments. Yeah. Okay. So
It'll tell you.
so it's
Okay,
got
yeah.
the little symbol. There we go.
And then the Rumble ones will probably have Rumble. There
I'm
we go.
assuming.
I don't sound like I'm off in the
Yeah, and I'm
valley
checking
now.
right now on Rumble. So I'm pulling up the Rumble live stream, and it does look like we are live on Rumble. So that's good. Looks like it's working.
Yay!
All right. Wanted to just run down a couple of course many of you are very well aware of the tornadoes that hit down in Mississippi. An F5 tornado, massive amounts of devastation. It's very reminiscent of the Joplin tornado, which was an F5 tornado also. And I wasn't there during the tornado, but I was there afterwards. Solar Independent Utility Systems Manual, which is a book you can look up on Amazon, Solar Independent Utility Systems Manual. It's one of the listeners that wrote a book on solar systems. But anyways, I was at Joplin shortly after the hurricane tornado. Oh, that had been really bad. Hit a tornado hit and kind of helped there. And the video I've seen so far of Mississippi looks very much the same way. So definitely be remembering those poor folks in your prayers. The last I heard, it was around 23 to 25 people that have been confirmed dead. I did see that Bear Independent Grindstone Ministries has already headed down there. And I'm sure he'll be giving updates. He always does when he's down there. So if you can, if you're interested in finding some place you can monetarily donate, send some cash to help out, that would be a good one. That's definitely a good organization that Bear Independent runs. So, that's somewhere that I would recommend you send your money, because nowadays with all the charitable stuff, it's hard to tell anymore where your money's actually going to go and how much of it's going to be used for good things.
He has another one too.
Right, he does.
It's called Caleb's House.
Caleb's House, yeah, that's a good one too. So, I've got some people saying that they're not able to get it to work on Rumble, but I'm looking on Rumble, and there are people chatting in Rumble.
But we don't see the comments.
I don't see the comments on the screen, but I can see them on my phone. So for those of you watching on Rumble, we see you. Thank you. We've got from New Hampshire and Kentucky and South Florida, North Carolina and Ohio, and Grandma Ginger, she's there. I also saw her on the YouTube. I don't know if she's watching on both at the same time. But
talented.
Yeah. But anyways, definitely be remembering those folks in Mississippi in your prayers. We had a really nice day after the 2 days of almost nonstop rain for 2 days. Today was pretty nice. Actually got a little warm. It was nice and sunny. Starting the drying out process, but that'll take a few days because we got an immense amount of rain. Several creeks and stuff were flooded. Roadways were covered. All that kind of stuff. So Someone says they like your sweater.
Oh, thank you. It's old. I don't know how. I mean, I think I've had this for almost 10 years. Somebody's saying that you must go to the channel on Rumble, not the quick button.
Okay.
So I guess some people might have a better user experience if they do it that way.
Okay. Yeah. If you go to the channel on Rumble, which is the Prepared Homestead, and I would encourage you all to get the Rumble account going, because YouTube is not going to be a place
they
for us to be forever.
To get Rumble from your posted link, but it wouldn't come in.
Okay.
So we'll work on that.
That one, I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, maybe that link that I posted apparently is not working good. I'll repost it just in case. I'm not sure why it wouldn't work.
It says you're live on the channel Prepared Homestead, but you're not live on the Prepared Homestead. So like there's a channel and then there's a page.
Yeah, well, and that's the difference with Rumble. Rumble, you have your personal user account, and then you have your actual channel. And so my personal user account is just Prepared Homestead, and then the actual channel is the Prepared Homestead. So if you go to the Prepared Homestead, that's where it's at.
He's saying the opposite. So I don't know if maybe there's some confusion. I don't know. He or she. Renee. Sorry, Renee. I didn't mean to call you a he.
You didn't ask their pronouns,
Renee could
or what
be
they
a
identify
boy's
as.
name.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
Thank you, Mr. Read the Torah.
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, and that's a good thing to do, is read the Torah. We are having our local meeting
and thank you
tomorrow.
Because he says congratulations.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We did. We had a grandbaby this past week.
We're so proud.
We'll talk about that here in just a second. Yeah. We are having our big meeting, local meeting tomorrow. So for those of you local people that come, just to remind you, it's tomorrow, same time, same place. We have a master gardener that's part of our group, and she's going to be talking about.
Although she probably wouldn't like it if you called
I know.
her that. But she and the other one are very.
We have two very knowledgeable master gardeners.
But both of them are very humble.
Yes, but they both know what they're doing, and so she's going to give a talk and a demonstration on gardening and how to kind of jumpstart your gardens this year, which it's that time of the year. It's at least getting to that time of the year. So that will be a good meeting, I'm sure. But yeah, we have another grandbaby this week.
Yay!
We were very excited, and
she's healthy. Mom is healthy. Everybody's all right.
Yes, and it was, which is good. I mean, normally it's good, obviously, but we were a little worried a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
she's been having a lot of blood pressure issues, and they were concerned that they may have to induce or take the baby
she
early.
had some complications, so we were worried, and lots of praying.
Yeah, but
they're all healthy and home, and
the baby came out all right, 7 pounds 12 ounces, and so good, chunky, healthy baby.
She's got the chunky.
She has hair coming as dark as can be, and thick.
It's a whole head.
I mean, it's just
a whole crown of
her hair is just as thick as can be. And so she's the third grandbaby, and all three of them are little girls. So as a grandpa, it's not that big a deal, really. 3 little granddaughters. I mean,
Said no grandpa ever.
Oh, I said the other day, I said that's just one more excuse for me to buy more guns to protect her. I mean,
I say it's an excuse to buy more pretty things.
I thought it was an excuse to buy more guns to protect the granddaughters. I mean, certainly there's got to be a guy out there listening right now that agrees with me.
No,
that another granddaughter is
not
just
this crowd.
An excuse to buy more guns, right? Anyways, we kind of talked a little bit. I wrote down a few little notes, not much, but a little bit. Sometimes on these live streams, I talk a little bit about current news that's going on. I've got
Hi,
Patriot
Johnny.
Preacher, Randy Brown, David, hiking the trail. See,
Yeah, they all get
they
it.
all get it. They're saying absolutely. That's a good excuse to buy more guns. And Benjamin, all these Terry, they're all jumping in and backing me up. You guys got
I'm
my
not.
back.
I'm not supporting that. I'm just saying she's so beautiful.
I know.
I want to decorate her
I know. She's a very beautiful girl. Very beautiful. But
and celebrate her.
mhm,
They're all so cute together. They're
yeah.
happy and healthy.
Thank you,
and
Bob R. That was very generous of you. We appreciate that a lot. I'm also trying to look down here on the
Somebody
Rumble.
gave you $4.99
Did I
and
dye?
asked you if you
Did I
dyed
dye
your
my
beard.
beard? No,
Thank you for the
I don't dye my beard.
support.
I have had people ask.
Here, get closer. You should.
Well, it's the lighting.
So,
Let
like
me
you
get
can
the
see, it's
microphone out of
white.
the way.
There's
Yeah,
some whiteness
there's some
there.
white in it. I don't.
See,
A lot of it has to do with the lighting. So when I'm outside in the sun, it looks very gray. And then in I have soft lighting in here, warm, soft lighting, so it makes it look dark. But if you were up close to it, you would definitely there's lots of gray in it. No,
But the black part is naturally just black.
It's black, yeah. It's black as coal, other than the gray that's coming in.
He's like the pirate, Mr. Blackbeard.
But I don't really put anything.
Come on, that's funny.
Other than soap when I bathe, that's about all that gets put in my beard.
And some beard, like
occasionally.
on occasion.
It's very rare.
We have a friend that made some beard oil, and then I get
balm,
you some beard. What's that called? Beard
balm.
Yeah.
I mostly do that because she likes it, but on a day-to-day basis, I don't put it in because
no,
I'm out
you
here.
Don't need it.
I'm working and all that kind of stuff. Guns and shovels. Freedom Dad
this
says.
Person, I agree. Kentucky ready. You don't need an excuse to buy more guns.
That's right. That's right. And so that, I mean, look around at what's going on in the world today. If you can't come up with an excuse to buy guns, you must be blind and deaf and all that kind of stuff. And yes, the beard is real, but I know you're just joking. See, Kenyan president says U.S. dollar will be worthless in weeks. I have not heard that, but I haven't really been paying attention to the news today. So if that came out today, I don't know if it'll be worthless in weeks, but will it be worthless eventually? Yes. And is that time probably sooner than later? I'd say yes. It may be months. But yeah, the U.S. dollar, I can't see it. I know a lot of people keep saying, well, they're just going to keep propping it up. And that's true. And that's what they've done for years and years and years.
But how are they going to introduce the digital?
But yeah, at some point, the propping it up is not going to work. And they want the digital to happen. So I suspect there'll be this nice, what was that? Oh, it was the Indiana Jones movie. Remember that Indiana Jones movie? We was trying to take the artifact and it was weight sensitive and he had the bag of sand or whatever, and he was trying to make that quick little remember that part? I don't remember which movie it was, but it was in Indiana Jones. That's what I suspect they're going to try to do. Most of them of the US dollar that exists today is digital already. It already is digital. I can't remember. I've looked at some of the numbers, but it's been a long time ago, of the amount of US dollars that exist versus the amount of actual currency that exists. And the US dollar there's way more of the US dollar than there is the currency, which means there's a lot of digital dollars already out there. And so getting people to accept that, I don't think will be too hard. But a central bank digital currency of some sort, yes. Someone says that Florida has already banned it. They have. There has been attempts in other states. Missouri has attempt to do that, but there's also bills in most all these states to accept it. So it's just this back and forth fight. But the thing is if the U.S. dollar fails, collapses, or just starts getting so inflated that it's becoming less and less valuable, the average person, when presented with a Fed coin, a currency directly from the Fed, controlled by the Fed, they're going to accept it because they're going to say, well, right now to buy this loaf of bread, it's like $200. Or I can use this debit card here from the Fed and it's, $5 or whatever. And so I think that, at some point people will just gladly accept it, just like they gladly accepted the thing in the arm. I have to be careful because we're also broadcasting on YouTube. They gladly accepted all that stuff. Most people did. I know not everybody, but most people did. So that's just my opinion.
So, nothing to do with what you said, but Cheryl asked if one day she could have a bookshelf tour.
Oh, okay.
You did that one little
I did one, and I've
short
been
or
thinking,
something,
yeah,
and
I've been
you
thinking
had a
about,
little Easter egg in there, not
yeah,
a literal Easter egg,
no,
but
no,
it was like
yeah,
a
I stuck something
a
in it.
little
Yeah, I did a
surprise.
short
Yeah.
on YouTube. I've been thinking about, I need to get a second one set up, and so yeah, but yeah, I can at some point go a little bit more detailed in some of the books that are on the shelf. Thank you, Laura. I do not know. I don't know. But things are, I said, was it the video I did on Friday on YouTube? I can't remember. Maybe it was one I did on Rumble, doing channels now, kind of lose track. But I was saying that I strongly believe that we are watching everything just fall apart. And I know I've been saying that for a long time, that we're watching the collapse. We're watching the collapse, but we really are right now. We're really watching things just kind of spiral out of control. Go ahead.
I just
I
wanted
know
to
you want to jump
respond
in.
to Rhino76 says, I'm just tired of all the talk about it. Let's just get on with it.
Yes.
So we know where we stand and can react accordingly. And I think so many people share your sentiment,
Yeah.
but that is part of, that's part of the conditioning and that's part of it.
Yes.
They want, I believe it's exhausting.
Yes.
And everybody's like waiting.
Yeah. And there's a reason for that desensitizes us. I've said that since the start of the whole health crisis, that we're being desensitized to it. It's a normalcy bias. It messes with your adrenals. It messes with your mind, where there's this, one day we're all gonna die. The end is near. We're about ready to get nuked. A humongous chemical spill that's like Chernobyl.
Well,
The
you talked
dollar's
about
about
this
ready to
on our last live
collapse.
on Rumble.
Yeah.
Like every 3 days, right?
Yeah,
You've
every about
noticed
every
about
4
the
days.
cycle,
Yeah.
3 or 4
Yeah.
days, where it's like, okay, they died down, and then everybody stops
Yeah.
talking
Well,
about the thing, and then now there's a new thing.
right. It
And
wasn't
it's
that
like,
something happens every 4 days. Is that the lifespan
of the thing.
of these, like, big things typically last, at my estimations, totally my estimations, are about a 4-day life cycle.
Yeah, there's no like other person that you can quote or source.
No,
It's
no, no.
just
It's
your
just my
observation.
observation that, and sometimes it's longer and sometimes it's shorter. And then all of a sudden it'll get calm for just a little bit, and it'll seem like the news is dead.
Suzanne says, wear you down until you just don't care anymore.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I think that the more complacent we become, the more tired our adrenals are, like you were just talking about, the more exhausted we are. Also, like, just think about like desensitization, like when somebody's constantly exposed to negative talk, for instance.
Sure.
And then they were never negative before, but I mean, that's what they become.
Right.
And that's why, the Bible talks about who you should surround yourself with. So I just can't like help but wonder if that's part of it too. Like we're all just going to poo-poo everything and like, and then like we just don't care. And also we're not as alert, and people have a harder time making decisions. Wise decisions anyway.
Right. And I understand. I've had people on this channel. I've had people face to face, and they're right. I don't disagree with them that, well, but we have to, part of that great commission as believers is to be around, unbelievers, so that we can be a light. We can be a witness. We can, be fishers of men. Okay. Yes, but we also have to be cautious of not being around it too much. I mean, because it's human nature. The more that we're around evil, the more we become desensitized by it. I mean, The last 3 years is a good example, but my goodness, go back 5 years, go back 10 years. If the things that are happening today on a moral level, forget about the wars and the economy and the health crises and all that kind of stuff. The moral things that are happening, you know what I'm talking about, the stuff with children and all this kind of crazy ideology. Can you imagine if that stuff was happening 10 years ago? For those of you our age and older, can you imagine if people were doing that back in the 90s? What would have happened?
We talk about this a lot.
I
Like,
mean,
not just
there
this,
would
but
have been
a
hangings in
lot
the
of the things that
streets,
are going
you
on
know?
right now, if it was going on then. But like in just, well, this is part of what we were talking about earlier. Just a lot has changed in 3 years.
Yeah. Yep. There's been so much, and you can say, well, it's because the world has gotten more evil. Absolutely. Totally agree with you. But we as people, even as believers, we've become more and more and more desensitized, where we're accepting more and more and more. I mean, the modern churches today accept things that churches 10, 20, 30 years ago would have never dreamed of accepting. 100 years ago. I mean, and so how does that process happen? Well, we're desensitized. And so that's what we're seeing happen also. And remember what I've said before, it's all a psychological operation. It really is. And so they're creating this normalcy bias. Um, thank you, RV Nelson. We are still working on. I'm talking to you on Rumble. I saw your uh, super chat, whatever they call it on Rumble. We are still working on that. But that's part of what they're doing. And I've mentioned this, my goodness, probably a couple dozen times, but I'm going to say it again because there's someone out there that may not have heard me say it before. Um, After Joe Biden got elected, you could probably go look it up. It was a Newsweek. It was Newsweek magazine did an article. I think it was in May or June of that year that he was put into office, and they were asking someone that worked within the White House, because at that time, remember Australia, the stuff that Australia was doing during the lockdowns and stuff was pretty extreme. Remember that, how extreme it was for Australia. So Newsweek was asking Joe Biden's staff, one of his staff people, if we as Americans were going to see that kind of stuff happen here in America. And the staff member said that, well, Jill Biden was all for it, but we believe that we want to just incrementally, bring things up to speed, and because we don't want to, overwhelm people. We want to get them to where they're able to handle each incremental increase in control, basically. In other words, he's basically just admitting what I said, that it's all incremental. And so that's what we're seeing. But I think also we have reached kind of a threshold. We've reached
Like a pinnacle.
a pinnacle, that we've crossed the Rubicon.
Real quick, Laura Ann says it's the same cycle of abuse that one might use in an abusive relationship when one is trying to control another.
Absolutely.
And we've seen that. And you and I've mentioned this. It's like this, like it's crazy, but it's like on this mass scale. And I feel like this pinnacle that you're talking about, it's only attainable and we're only able to get there by these methods of abuse. I feel like,
Right.
like it's just, I feel like people are really starting to be worn down more now.
I've even
like
I've even had communication with people over the past, it's been more recent, less than 6 months, maybe 3 months, at least since the first of the year, that have followed this channel. Some of them I don't only know through email, some of them I know in person. And they have gotten worn down to the point that they're like, I'm ready to just kind of be plugged back into the matrix, so to speak. I'm ready to just, maybe it's, too much. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe this is just how it is, and there's nothing we can do about it. And so even amongst folks like you and us, we're seeing that. And so that's,
unfortunately,
that's
true.
part of the mental and the spiritual preparedness that I talk about.
And strength
Is
like
that
training.
strength and training that we have to go through. Someone asked coffee, Moose Run Coffee, mooseruncoffee.com. They are our official coffee for the channel. It's a local family of believers and patriotic homeschoolers and all that kind of stuff. And their coffee, it's all organic, and they roast it right then and there when you order it. So you place your order online at mooseruncoffee.com, and they take that order and then they roast it and then they ship it to you. So just thought I would give them a little plug. But yeah, that's what we're seeing.
And somebody mentioned that, we should focus on, we should meditate on that which is holy and pure and good.
Absolutely.
But also we shouldn't probably bury our heads. But that's part of what you were just about to, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was trying to add to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
But that's part of what you're about to talk about is I think that there is a threshold, there is a pinnacle in which we have to decide, right? Like, can we keep bringing people in? Can we keep doing, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
at what point do you kind of shift gears?
Right.
Because so much has changed so fast. And it's not like, I don't feel like it's depressing, but it is kind of like, are you serious? Like, like, I don't remember life being like this ever before,
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
yeah, we can do a link to the
the link
coffee shop. You want to type it in?
I'll do it. Hold on. Because I'm such the good typist here, Moose Run. Yep. All right, there you go, Moose Run Coffee. But yeah, I think that's what we're seeing happen. So for me personally, as someone that does this, gets on here and talks every day, pretty much, I don't want to sound callous. I don't want to sound like I'm
you're careful
heartless
to not
anymore.
be that way.
Right. I don't want to sound that way. But I'm also getting past the point of trying to convince people. Okay. I'm not here to convince you. Okay. I don't feel that burden or calling on my life. And if it is, then maybe I just need to spend more time in prayer and listen. But I don't feel that that's my job.
Well, everybody has gifts and talents and has their own, it's not just calling, it's like a discernment and conversations, with your creator. And if that's not where you feel led and called anymore, well,
it's not that I was ever really focused on
convincing
on convincing people.
But we talked about this in one of our Rumble videos, our fireside chats.
Yeah.
About how like the time for, we've talked about it here too on the lives. It's time to get lions.
Right.
The people that
I've
are already
said that
awake.
before. It's time to wake up the lions. Fat Daddy outdoor cooking. Yes, they've been laying, and then we've also got chicken and duck eggs in the
ducky.
the incubator, and they're supposed to start hatching today and tomorrow, and they're pipping a little bit.
We've got one though that's that's ready.
A little bit ahead of it. This morning I came out and there's a little duck starting to peek out.
Because I have to admit that chicks are so cute and I love them, but ducks, baby ducks,
they're hilarious.
Ducklings,
they're hilarious.
They're fun.
They're messy and they're hilarious.
And they're also super entertaining. They really are entertaining.
Yes, they are. But yeah, it's time to wake up the lions. I did a video on that a few months ago. Had a few people that thought I was crazy for saying that. I had some hate mail from that video, which was once in a while when I get hate mail, I'm like, I don't even understand why this is happening. And then, it's that remnant. It's circling the wagons. It's bringing in the remnant. It's getting us ready. It's time to turn inward. Inward to ourselves, to our families, to our tribe, our community,
and focus.
I'm not saying that we're not still trying to be a light and a witness and evangel. I'm not saying that,
or that we're turning anybody
no,
intentionally
don't
away.
Get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's at least
you've been sounding the alarm for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
On this particular, you need to get ready. like how long can you beat the same
Right,
drum?
right. I mean, how many videos can you make about the same kind of thing all the time? It's time to start, turning inward, getting things ready on the home front. Certainly, we want to still be aware of what's going on in the world. I mean, that kind of helps give us a timeline. Well, another bank's collapsing. Well, we're getting that much closer to war. It
Somebody
helps.
asked, why do you get hate mail?
Why do I get hate mail?
Why doesn't he get hate mail? I mean, you get hate mail
I
about
get hate
the
mail
most
a lot.
ridiculous things. Yeah.
Yeah, I do get hate mail a lot. But knowing what's going on is important. It gives us an idea of maybe how much longer we have. Learning new skills is important. That's important too. But I think that, at least for me, and I'm speaking for myself, and I've talked to some of the people within our local community, our tribe, and they're in agreement too. I'm not speaking for them, but we all agree on this, that it's time to start turning our focus inward. Yeah, we have jobs, we have kids that don't live at home, we have all of these other things in our lives that are going on, but it's time to start making, getting our families and our lives ready for these changes. The changes that are happening, there's some radical changes that have happened in just the last 3 years. The last year and a half, there's been some changes, massive changes. They're going to continue to happen. When you see the stuff that they're talking about long term, what they're wanting to have done by 2025, okay? How much longer do we have to 2025? Because this year's going really fast. It's less than 2 years away, folks. And that's been a major year for several things. And then, of course, there's 2030. That's not that far away. There are major, massive changes. I mean, there is. I already feel this way, where I can wake up and look and see that how much has changed in the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. But there will definitely be a point that we all are just in shock and awe. At least those that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. There's going to be so many that's just going to be so conditioned and desensitized to all this that they're just not going to notice it.
So Randy says
maybe until it's too
the
late.
inchworm effect, a little at a time, but it's that, but it's also like slam, 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 like it's a little at a time, but then it's also like,
It's
it's a
become much more
barrage
intense.
of like,
Yeah.
like attacking people psychologically.
Yeah, it was John Kerry that, after the 2020 election, it was John Kerry that said that the Biden administration is prepared to bring about the Great Reset with speed and intensity. That's almost verbatim. You can go look that up if you want. It's a very long interview that he did, but in the middle of it, he said that. And so, yes, there's speed and intensity, and it is happening on a fairly regular basis. And it's, for instance, this is a prime example: the Ohio train derailment in East Palestine. Okay,
Palestine.
Palestine.
I think they
know.
say Palestine.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. I'm sorry. I
Anyways,
can't remember. The Texas one is Palestine.
how much in our circles were people talking about that for several days? I mean, people, and it's not because it wasn't a big deal. It was, I mean, that it was a big deal. It was something intense for a while, right? And the repercussions of that still going on. And since then, there have been numerous train derailments, buildings catch fire, buildings exploding. There was a chocolate factory.
Yeah.
A chocolate factory
last night or the night before?
Yesterday or something. I don't know if you saw the video of that. It literally exploded.
Yeah.
This building literally
nobody's talking about it.
exploded. Debris was flying everywhere. I mean, it looked like someone put a truckload of C4 in the middle of this building. The whole building just boom, gone. There was another one a couple of days before that of some chemical plant, and I cannot remember the chemical plant, caught fire, huge billowy black smoke. This kind of stuff has been happening all the time, and it's happening on a fairly regular basis. And now it's happening to the point that no one's really talking about it. So we've already become desensitized.
And
now,
remember all the food plants, chicken and food.
I mean, in the
and-
back of our minds, we see this and we're like, oh, there's another one.
Right.
That's bad.
But where's the outrage anymore? Remember, there was a lot of outrage.
There was outrage.
For all of it.
And so what they know is happening is it's desensitizing us. It's no different than sin. You know, if you have a standard and you say, this is my line in the sand.
Blew up in Pasadena, Texas, which is a major port.
Yeah, that was at Pasadena, Texas. That's down there where it's an important area. I mean, a lot of industry down there. You know, if you have a line in the sand when it comes to morality, right? And you're like, I am not going to, you know, allow this or this to happen. And then you know, you're around stuff that's kind of right on the edge and you start to accept that, and then something else and you start to accept that, and then something else and you start to accept that. And at some point you've moved that line further down the road to where now you're accepting a lot more things. You know, we've done that as a society with, you know, alternative lifestyles, homosexuality, and then, you know, now LGBTQ rights and all that kind of stuff.
He said, right will be wrong, wrong will be right. Like this, and the hearts and it will be hardened, and people will be blinded to the truth. And that's a promise. Like this is what we were told.
Yep.
And I don't know how you could be any more right when you're wrong and wrong when you're right. Right now, like we've got you know, think speech and all kinds of other, like
I'm trying to pull
falls in line with what you were talking about
the other day. I made a video. Where did I'm looking through my notes.
Somebody, real quick, while you're looking that up, somebody mentioned that, you know, the people in their in their 30s and younger, under 40, are really struggling, and they're not going to know what's hit them. And then somebody else responded, you know, for us, we are in our 30s, and our parents think we're crazy. And so I think it's important to say, I think that you have a sweet spot sometimes right in the middle, and then of course there are outliers to any of it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But I think the younger generation and the older generation are on two, like they're bookends to like this weird place where we didn't trust anybody. And you know, like
you had the greatest generation, and then the boomers up to a point. Like the earlier part of the boomers, their generation was very trusting of the government.
They were.
They didn't question what the government said. You know, if the FDA said that this chemical's fine in your food or in your medicine, okay, the government, they know what they're talking about.
Like
and I'm generalizing. I'm generalizing.
Remember that?
Right. And then it came about kind of the hippies and the late 60s into the 70s, which was kind of that, you know, crossover between the end of the boomers and the beginning of the Gen Xers. And that's when people started really questioning. And that's what, you know, so many people say, what happened to these liberals? You know, back in the 60s and 70s, the liberals were the ones that were like, government's bad. We got to question everything.
Say that, though.
And now they're like, listen to the government. You know, they'll tell you what to do.
But like openly, they'll say, you know, like that's what Antifa.
Oh, they'll say that. Well, now they're saying that businesses are bad. Corporations are bad.
True. But you remember for a while, it was like anti-government everything.
Oh yeah.
But then they would.
Yeah. Even 10, 15 years ago, you know, the Wall Street audit thing and all that kind of stuff. It was, you know, government's bad. And now all of a sudden we got to trust the government and trust that we got to defund the police, but trust the government.
But I do think that it's true that even in our generation, like there are blind people, right? In every age group.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's exclusive to any age group.
Like, and I think that it goes along with the Bible.
It's that those who have ears will hear and eyes will see.
Right.
I don't know.
And I know that we're talking about political, socio type stuff and then Bible stuff. And maybe it doesn't cross over, and maybe it does. I think it kind of does. But I'm trying, I don't want you to think that we're taking it out of context. I read the Bible. I have a Bible right here. Someone's asking why I don't read the Bible. I got a Bible right here. This is what I read all the time. Anyways.
But somebody says that they would say that boomers question the government and always have. And I think that there is a group of them that do. But I don't want to say too much because I don't know if my mom is watching.
Oh.
You know, like I love her
but
so much.
We're
and
not
she listens.
we're using very generalized terms. we're using very generalized terms, okay? When we're talking about this, I don't know what these people are talking about in here, but anyways, we're using very generalized terms when we're talking about, you know, people in different generations. The point is that we, you know, I think it's time to have some realization of what's, and I know that many of you already have, you know, you've already, you know, said, okay, yeah, we get it. Things have happened. And we're kind of in the getting ready for it really hitting the fan mode. I heard someone say that there's preparedness, which is what you do when things are pretty normal, when you're able to prepare, right? And then there's a state of readiness. And that's really where we're at today. We're in a state of readiness today, because we're getting ready for things to kind of really start falling apart, because they are. I made a video on Rumble yesterday. I'm pulling out my notes from that video, and I don't usually make notes, but you know, we need people that will rise up at the gates of nations and proclaim the truth. That's what I believe that men and fathers are supposed to do, and I think that's where we've, you know, as men and fathers, that
The watchmen.
yes, we are the watchmen. Someone said that in the chat, and that's
Yeah,
why
they
it
said that
made
the
me
watchmen are sounding alarms, and those who can't hear are not, you know, able to hear
right.
whatever. But it's all in his timing, and we need to just accept that. Like, you can't get mad at people if they can't hear. Like, I don't know, like it's a waste of energy, I feel like, to be angry
Right.
and bitter.
We have to not get so worried and pulled down by friends and family that aren't awake. I mean, it's hurtful. We all have them. We have friends and family that haven't woken up, that haven't accepted, you know, not just what's going on politically, but this, you know, biblical truth, that they've not accepted the Bible. They've not accepted, you know, the truth of God's word. Okay. It's hurtful. And we pray for them, and we hope that you know, the Father, you know, softens their heart, and that they're more open to that. But it doesn't change that, you know, we aren't getting ourselves ready for things that are happening, because um you know, even if the biblical end, let me, I guess, put it that way, you know, the biblical end that's talked about in Revelation, even if we're still a little ways away from that, it would be foolish to say that as a society, as a culture, that that's not coming to an end. Could they both be one and the same? It's possible. We don't know that. But our civilization is coming to an end. Our civilization is becoming, you know, absolutely corrupt and disgusting. And it's starting to collapse. We're seeing that little by little. We're definitely seeing the cracks in the wall on that one. Someone said something about thumbs up. If you don't mind, give a thumbs up to this while we're talking. That kind of helps us out, I guess, a little bit. It doesn't cost you anything, and we don't get anything from it, but it's
Fat
supposed to help
Daddy wants to know
channel.
what seeds you should be starting right now. And I think that that's a hard question.
It is
I
a hard
just want to
question
mention
for
that because we have different growing zones. And
right. Depending on your situation, like indoor seeds, you could be starting indoor seeds, things like, you know, tomatoes, this things that need, because with most of those, and again, I'm being very general, because different varieties may be different places where you're at may be different, but usually you figure about 8 weeks before the time that you start planting, you can start putting seeds down. So if you have a goal to plant your tomatoes at a such and such date, backtrack 8 weeks or so, you know, maybe 10 weeks, maybe 7 weeks, something like that, and then start figuring out, okay, when that time is. Now, if that time should have been 2 weeks ago for you, it's not too late. Okay. Tomatoes are something that, you know, let's just say that in your area, you should have your tomatoes planted by, let's say, May 1st. Can you wait till June 1st to plant them and still have them? Most likely, yeah. I mean, almost certainly. In fact, when we plant them, we usually plant, you know, some when it's time, and then maybe in a couple of weeks we plant some more, and then a couple of weeks later we plant some more.
Explain why Missouri is so interesting.
Well, Missouri and a lot of
like
places,
last year,
you
as
have
soon as we got like our red buds.
right. Last year we had it actually snowed and froze the first week of May last year. Very unusual.
And it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It was so
very
pretty, but it
unusual.
totally destroyed everything
But
that
yeah,
was
it
planted.
killed a lot of things.
Not everything, but a lot of things.
It really killed the fruits around here because it froze all the blooms on the fruit trees and stuff. So you have to take that in consideration. But also, when you stagger your planting, you're going to have, fruit, vegetables longer. So, pretty much anything that you would be planting, because we're at the middle of March. So between the middle to the end of May, 1st of June, anything that you would be planting that time, you can start your starts now in your house. Make sure they get some sun and heat, at least 70 degrees. On days that it's nice and warm, if they're covered, you can set them outside a little bit, as long as it's good and warm. But definitely be doing that. This is the year to plant food, folks. I said last year was the year to be putting gardens out and getting in practice for that. I know many of you do. This is the year to go like all in, and really be expanding your garden, expanding your food production. And it may be a garden, it may be more chickens, it may be adding things like sheep or goats
Well,
or
and that's
cows.
the question that you're answering right now. Like, should you expand your garden? But I think it's a matter of like what do you have? And
Right.
like you should be you should be, I mean, intuition and discernment says go all in, right?
Even
to
if you
do
don't
whatever you
plant
can.
a whole garden,
Right.
just start
Expand
getting the soil.
somewhere.
Start getting
Food,
the soil,
soil,
because soil conditioning is really a big
orchards.
deal.
Like we've talked about growing amaranth around our perimeter.
Yep.
I mean, like for your animals,
Mhm.
the one of the ones that a lot of people want to grow for animals is moringa. And that's
Mhm.
it's a whole food.
Right.
And it'd be good for you too. But do something with your like your food
Right.
issues and
Forest gardening, that's another thing.
Yeah, I love the
getting
forest
better
gardens.
getting better at wild foraging. Things like mushrooms, wild greens, wild
Excuse
roots
me.
and tubers, that kind of stuff. So that definitely be, expanding food production, expanding food preservation, expanding your scope of just producing food for yourself, and
So,
regardless of
before
how
it
that
disappears,
looks.
Forest Ghost Preparedness has a good question. Will you answer it for him or her?
Oh,
He or
was
she?
looking for, okay, what temperature do you? Well, it's not so much the temperature on the chicks, it's the age of the chicks. Once they're starting to fully feather, that's the big key. Now, me personally, with chicks, when they start to fully feather, because once a chicken is fully feathered and old enough, they can handle a lot of temperatures. I mean, you don't really need heat lamps
Especially
in
like
all
we
places.
only
We
choose
hardly
heritage breeds.
Right.
So, and they're hardier,
But
and you probably should too. And look at your climate and see,
right.
like there are some that can, if you're up north, like that can handle the colder.
There's people that
temps.
live up in Canada that have
And then there
chickens
are
and they don't
some,
even use heat lamps.
right? And then there's some in the south that are
A little bit more heat tolerant.
yeah, they're especially
Right.
what's the word? Not bred, but
Well,
I
kind
don't
of.
know, just conditioned
Yeah.
to
They're a
withstand,
breed that's a little bit better for
a little less
southern.
water, more heat.
Things like if they have feathers on their feet, help keep their feet warm. But anyways, to the question, when you got enough temperature, typically, I don't know what that was. Um,
It
for
says
some reason,
uploading, recording.
yeah, I know. For some reason, something just happened on our end. I don't know if you guys are still watching or not. There we go. All right. I think I clicked a button. Sorry about that. My screen went weird for a second, but I think I hit something, clicked the button. Anyway, so what temperatures do you allow your chicks to leave the broody box and go outside? It's really going to be based on are they fully feathered? Okay, so once they get all their feathers, that's that's the main thing. Now, does that mean you should just take them right out of the broody box and stick them out in the coop? There needs to be some transition. Have you been putting heat on them, which you probably shouldn't at that point if the chicks are in the broody box.
And
What I
somebody
do is
says that they put their chicks in the broody box in the greenhouse, which
you
is a
can
great
do
idea
that.
too.
And then like we have chicks, and part of it's not temperature, it's also just integrating them into the flock. So we have chicks that are fully feathered. They could handle living in the coop probably all
if
on
they
their
were
own.
alone,
But there's other chickens in there.
that
So
need to be
I have
they need to be acclimated.
yeah, so we've been taking them out during the day in a separate pen, but in the chicken run and everything, so that they're getting used to it. And that way it's not like you're turning them loose and then there's this big huge fight and a couple of hens die and all that kind of stuff,
which happens. And then we have some inside, so like we have some in the barn.
We have several transitions of chicks right now,
and then we have some out here
that are just hatching today. Someone asked about hardening off plants. It's the same thing. So when you have your plants in a greenhouse or you have them inside where they're nice and protected, and they start to get to the point that you're like, okay, we're getting close to the time that I can start planting. You don't want to just take them out of the greenhouse or out of your house and then put them in the ground, because they've been in a nice, comfy, warm environment, and then you put them out where they're not, the roots aren't as thick and handle that. So you need to transition by hardening them off by like taking the flats and setting them outside where they're getting the cold air and they're getting a little bit of, you don't want to get them to where they're freezing at night, but definitely where they're getting used to colder temperatures and the wind and stuff. And it hardens the plants off also, so that you can eventually put them out in the ground.
Go back up, Randy, I think Randy Sparks.
Yeah.
If you want to, he says we sell heirloom starts cheap as a way. I don't know if you have a website, but you're welcome to post it in here if you do.
Yeah, if you
anybody that has that sort of thing that could be beneficial to any of our viewers, feel free to,
I have no problem with you promoting that kind of stuff.
It's not a competition.
Nope. Or any of that. It doesn't bother me at all.
Somebody just asked, what's an email or website for your starts?
Yes. So if you, Randy, I think is what it was.
Randy Sparks.
Yeah, Randy Sparks. If you want to put your email or anything like that to sell your starts, feel free to do so. But these are the things we need to be getting ready.
And it is a good time to test for seed germination rate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I think
it's just that time now.
Go all out this year.
Some of you are further south and you're like, man, I'm already getting stuff in the ground. I understand that. And then some of you are further north and like, we haven't even seen the ground yet because of the snow cover. We're just trying to generalize things. Bottom line is,
somebody also said earlier that I look pretty tonight, but that I look like Amy Irving.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either. So we got to go look her up. I hope that she's not, anybody.
Your mic is
like
there we go.
I don't want it in my face.
I know, but it's rubbing against that. We could hear it.
But you remember we were watching that one show that one time where somebody said that he looked like somebody, and he went and looked it up, and it's like some goofy person.
Yeah. Basically, just if I could give any advice to anyone right now, it would be, Amy Irving, Evanescence.
Oh, I thought that was Amy Lee.
Well, I don't know.
Did she change her last name?
I don't know. Maybe
she's a pretty lady.
Yes.
Thank you. Shoshana says that she puts her chicks out at 4 weeks year round.
Yep.
And we have ours out, but we don't just put them in the coop because we want the new ones to
I give them a transition.
Yeah,
I give them a time to kind of introduce themselves to each other, that kind of stuff.
It's an actress, Nikki and Maud.
Oh, I don't know who that is. But anyways, yeah, we have to start. I don't know. I was telling my wife before we did this. I said, I've got these thoughts and these feelings about the things that we're talking about tonight, and I don't know how to put them into words. And so there's some frustration there of how to convey the message of
and it's serious.
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of somber.
Yeah. That the world is changing, and it's
fast. So fast.
and it's we've got to really be, you know, I think of I guess what I'm trying to say, let me try to put it this way. Even though maybe not everyone watching falls into this, I'm generalizing again, the average American family. The husband goes off to work, the wife goes off to work, the kids go off to school, the older kids that may still be living at home, maybe they have jobs or they're going to college, and they come home from work and they've got meetings and sporting events and all this kind of stuff, and everyone's just scattered, right? They're off doing their own things, and they're saving up for bass boats, and they're saving up for vacations, and they're trying to redecorate this, and they're wanting to make sure that they watch the latest reality show or whatever that's going on. And that has been the norm for the American family in some form or fashion for several decades, actually. That really has been, since probably the 50s. It's been growing since that point. We left the small nucleus of the family, the tight family unit.
Since before then, right? Like when we sent the
Probably,
women
yeah,
out to
probably
work when the
World
men were
War
at
II, I
war.
think,
Yeah.
was probably the big thing that changed
That was like the
that.
really first, like the really first big.
Right. And that's just my opinion, but that's what I has seen happen. And we have to really kind of shed that. That's become normal for us. Some of you work really hard to not have that kind of setup for your home. But I think that we really need to work hard to shed that
This is
as
part of
being the normal.
your message to secede from society and like become more traditional.
Right.
Like, I don't care that this is what's normalized. I
Right.
don't care that this is what you've been conditioned to.
Right.
Separate yourself from it.
Right. The family is the most, it's the most important thing. Your family is the most important thing. It's the most important unit. It's the most important and the most powerful and the most successful organization that's ever existed on this planet. Period. End of story. Absolutely is. It's I mean, I could go into a very long diatribe on my opinion of the family and how important it is. And so we need to start, because once these things start getting really serious, I mean, we've seen the beta testing basically for the last 3 years in the whole health crisis, and now we're seeing the beta testing with this gender ideology, and we're seeing the beta testing for the potential World War III. And in all it's doing, it's really pulling families apart. It's pulling couples apart. It's pulling parents away from their children. It's tearing communities apart, is what it really is doing in the end. It's the family unit is being destroyed. There is an absolute war on the family unit. There's a war on our beliefs. There's a war on traditions. There's a war on being self-sufficient. There's a war on your spiritual beliefs. There's a war on the Bible, on Abba, God, Father, on Yeshua, Jesus, his son. Whatever word pronunciation you want to use, that's fine. But there's a war on that. It's serious. And
traditional values, traditional beliefs, traditional wives, traditional men,
and we have to stop.
And a war on our children and the minds of our children.
We have to stop this. Yeah, it's happening. It's bad. It's happening. We have to stop that. We have to say it's time to do something about it. Maybe protesting the streets doesn't do anything about it anymore. I don't know. I'm not telling you to go do it. I'm not telling you not to go do it. But what I am telling you, what's more important than that, is gathering your people together, your family, your wife, your husband, your children, and then those people that are close to you, your tribe, your little community, bringing it in, spending time with them.
Because the chickens are coming home to roost. I mean, all this stuff that has been in the works it's manifesting.
And when it all really starts falling apart and everything is just horrible, the people that are really going to be the ones that you are depending your life on, and they're depending their life on you, are those family that close to you, whether it's blood family or those close friends that are family. I've always been a believer that family isn't just genetic.
No, friends are the family you choose.
Yeah. So I don't know. I want to convey that, that it's that time, folks. It's that time. I mean, you can still be learning. You can still be watching videos on how to plant this or plant that, or about this gun or that, or, what is, the latest status of, something in the news. That's all important. It really is. But in the end, you really want to be focusing on here and here, and the children and the people close to you, building systems outside of that, figuring out how you're going to work together, spending time, just building relationships, spending time and talking, because talking is the creation of ideas. And then take those ideas and do something about it, and stop just talking, but actually do, and put those ideas to action, where you're coming up with how you're going to survive when all this starts falling apart.
So these two right here kind of embody what you're saying. So this person is saying, yeah, they're poisoning our water, injecting by force, the biological weapon, and the children. And then the next comment is, all you can do is put the message out there. No one wants to upset the cart, like the fruit cart. So they think that as long as it doesn't affect them. And that's the thing. Like we can see this and we're shouting it, but like at the end of the day, what can you do? Well, it's all grassroots, right? If you aren't taking care of your family and you're not really bringing in the family unit and the network of people and focusing on that, you're only as strong as, your weakest link.
Right. I mean, if you were very diligent and you had all the beans and the rice and the bullets and the bullion and the band-aids and all that kind of stuff, but yet your family didn't get along, hated each other, you had no one in your community, your own personal life, your spiritual walk with the Father was in shambles, and you had no real strength in your faith, and your mind was weak, then what's it matter having all those beans and rice and all that kind of stuff? Remember our priorities: the beans and the rice and the bullets. That's the fun stuff in a way. It's what's the term? It was on the tip of my tongue and it slipped out. It's not dramatized, it's idealized in a lot of times in the media. But definitely be focusing on the important stuff, which is sometimes the hard things to do. The hard stuff isn't always the easy things. Of building relationships, mending relationships.
And it may not feel important, right? It may not feel like this is a pressing thing. But imagine that we have everything we need in a community, but there's a child that is rebellious and can't stand you, or like a very broken
I'm going to answer your question, Laura, so hold on.
Or like a broken relationship with an adult child or your own parents. How are you all gonna, like, if you don't fix that, then none of the other stuff is, I'm sorry, it just doesn't, because somebody's gonna get thrown under the bus, somebody's gonna get their feelings hurt, somebody, it could cause lives to be lost, I think. I don't feel like that's dramatic either. Do you? Like, do you think that's dramatic?
No.
I don't feel like I'm being like overly emotional about that. I think it's just an accurate representation of what happens when there's a breakdown within families and structures.
We also, someone said Trump and Biden and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, people, they want to focus on that this guy's going to save us. And I'm not saying Trump's a good guy or a bad guy. Doesn't matter. Trump's not going to save us, okay? Yeshua can save you. He can open that door for you, but it's not going to be Trump. I do want to answer someone's question. Laura asked how we met. Aww. This isn't a deep, dark secret, but it is a little personal. So I thought, someone says I look like David Crowder. I think I know who that is.
Oh, it is. He's like the one that talks about the sloppy wet kiss. You know that song?
I have no idea. I'll have to look that one up.
It's talking about like the relationship that he has with. That's a beautiful song.
I don't know
it when I
I'm
play
sure
it
I will, but I know
like him.
I know the
His
songs. I'm bad
nice.
with like knowing the musicians. I'm horrible.
He changed the lyrics though because it was controversial. Like that's why I used that, because they were like, that's not very godly. So but he was describing his relationship.
We'll end on this. Someone asked how we met. Grandma Joe says she loves us. We love you too. Thank you so much.
That's my mom's name. That's Grandma Joe. I don't know if that's her.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But so we met through a friend. That's how we met. And I'll tell you my side. I don't know if my side's, it's not that it's more exciting, but it's definitely more, to me, it's more confirmation that we were meant to be together, I think. It's just
I'm just gonna listen.
Okay. I had I'd been in a really rough, bad relationship.
Farmers only? No.
No.
Not quite.
No. I had made a personal commitment that I was going to be single the rest of my life. I had no interest in being in a relationship.
Sorry.
And had a friend that said, you're still young enough. You can, you're a good guy. You should put yourself out on the market. And I said, no. I said, I have no interest in it. I said, if Father wants me to marry, because here's the thing. How many modern women, how many women today would want to have anything to do with someone like me? They're not gonna believe like I do spiritually, because I don't fit in very many, whatever is considered the standard. I certainly don't live the standard life. I don't, all this kind of stuff. I don't want some of these modern worldly women that say they go to church on Sundays, that kind of thing. And I said, I have no interest. If if the Father wants me to be married, I would certainly accept it. But I am not putting myself out there. I'm not going to go looking. And if he wants me to be married and wants me to find someone, he will just plop her right down in front of me. And it was, I think 2 weeks later. I was introduced to her. And yeah, that was kind of it.
Sorry, I'm like far away from the mic.
We were married.
You're gonna tell people that too?
No,
Okay.
I mean, we didn't marry right away, but we were married.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean,
a little less than a year.
We had blessings.
It was a little, I think that's okay to say. It was a little less than a year.
Yeah, we don't want to be too personal and private.
Yep. So someone asked if it was the beard.
Well, to be honest, that was part of my attraction. But I mean, I'm like, I don't know. I just, the things that I believe and the way that I live my life, the way I lived my life before I met you, a beard was almost required for me. That's just my...
We must have said something wrong. There's a chopper or helicopter flying over the house right now.
That or it's life flight. Yeah, maybe.
What it is.
Let's hope so.
All right. So we ended with telling you a little bit of about us. I'm kind of a personal person, so I don't tell too many personal things.
I don't want to tell too much. Like
I know.
I'm private too.
I know. I do tell a little bit more personal. I'm a little bit more personal on Patreon.
Right. So like if there's somebody in the house that's sick or like what's really going on behind the scenes, that sort of stuff.
And it's not just because they pay.
No,
it's like $1 a month to $3 a month.
You can see who,
but I can control it.
Like who's watching.
Right. I can control who's watching me over there. Whereas on Rumble and YouTube, any random person can be watching. So I can control my viewers a little bit. Not that I do, but I'm saying I can see who's watching. It's not just random people tuning in.
And this, sorry. I wanted to, should I not? I don't know. I don't know if I can on YouTube. I just wanted to.
Oh, no, I don't want to deal with that. Whatever. So are they dropping things on chemicals on us? Who knows?
In their helicopters?
But no, that helicopter, there is we're out in the middle of nowhere, but there's a life flight helicopter that the hospital, quite a ways north of us, that it goes over the house every once in a while. So that's it. Anyways, I think we're going to get off here. It's been over an hour.
Yeah, we have a busy day tomorrow.
We do. Tomorrow is our monthly meeting, so we'll be doing that. We again remember in prayer
and thank you
the
again
people
for
in
the congrats for our grandchild. Anyway.
Oh yes, remember in prayer the people that
have suffered
in Mississippi, the tornado.
Like with the devastation.
Yes.
That it was crazy to watch unfold last night.
Yes. And if you feel led to assist, whether it's through money or through physically going down there, I would recommend Grindstone Ministries.
Reach out to them.
Yeah, I have no personal connection there. It's just Bear Independent, who's another YouTuber. Most of you know who he is. He's founded that organization, and everything that I've heard through all of our connections with it, it's very legitimate. They do amazing work, regardless of whether you even like him or not. And that wasn't anything against Bear. It was just a joke.
Well, no, but everybody's opinionated, but sure. I think we can all agree that regardless of whether or not you clash with somebody's personality or the way they present, if there is a good, like it's a community thing that he does. Like,
Yeah,
I don't see how anybody could argue with
He
that.
does
Like,
amazing work with that. So
and then Caleb's house too.
yes,
That's another one. That's for another situation. I don't know if does he talk about that one a lot?
yeah,
If you okay, like
yeah,
it's for domestic abuse
yes,
victims,
yes.
and that one's really close to my heart
Yep.
for a lot of reasons. But I think that what he's doing is very godly, and at least I mean, like, he's showing you what he's doing. You know where your
Right.
money's going, and
Right.
I don't worry about that with him at
Also,
all.
thank you to the folks that watched over on Rumble. So it looks like that we're successful.
And he does have.
I've never met Barry in person, TJ. We have talked over the phone. His circle of people, I know some of his circle of people. There's a crossover there, but like face to face, I've never met him. But I've heard that in person, he's a very kind person.
Well,
very
we know people that have worked with him and that work with him. I don't know. Like, I just like, you don't, I mean, I get that not everybody likes you. You're not everybody's cup of tea, but if what
They
you're
don't
doing
even like
is
me half the time.
but if like what you're doing in your community and it can be learned from, like, to go back and do it in their community, like, put your feelings aside and look at the greater good is really what I'm saying.
So remember tonight those folks in Mississippi in prayer.
And please pray for Bear and his team, like anybody that's volunteering.
Yeah, definitely. And if you can donate time, or I know that there are people that do that call him up and go down and help, or maybe you have heavy equipment. You can certainly, if you have maybe a company that you can donate some heavy equipment time, because I'm sure they're going to be needing it also.
And they get in there, like, they're not just showing up, and like they do whatever they can to help people. And so they're going to need water, and they're going to need food, and the heavy equipment. And imagine what the devastation is. I mean, you remember Joplin, like all the houses that are going to have to be rebuilt, and
it was just didn't even look real. It was surreal.
And our news guy, right? Like our weather guy. What's his name? Ryan Hall.
Ryan.
Right?
Well, he's not our weather.
I know, but we like him.
We like him.
I like him. I like the way
Ryan
he presents.
Hall, y'all.
And he actually said he's never seen anything like this.
Yeah, it was very devastating. All right, folks, we're going to call that one a wrap.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all your kindness.
We appreciate your prayers. Your encouragement.
Everything. Yes.
Yeah.
You're an amazing group of people, and it's an honor and a privilege
to
talk
and Refuge
to you.
Medical Supply too.
Oh yes, Refuge.
There's a third one too.
That's his business.
It is, but it's like a ministry.
But that business supports the nonprofits. There we go. Trying to spit that word out. All right, folks. Again, more now than ever, it is time to get your houses in order. Get them prepared mentally, physically, and most especially spiritually. Thank you all for watching.
Thanks for stopping by.
And
we'll talk to you later.
We will catch you in the next video or whatever live stream or anything like that. We'll see you guys later.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.